Jack.
When you're ready, Jack.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jack Fukui. This is my presentation learning for this semester. And my journey begins, or Harry's journey begins at King Cross Station, where Harry has to be brave enough to run through the wall to begin his new journey. And like Harry, I had to do the same. And last year I kind of struggled with MPX sort of, but I kind of liked how the program kept challenging me, so I decided to take it again this year.
Guys, you're not being respectful.
Sorry.
Yeah, so after I made my way to MPX, one of our first projects was the World Issue Project, and we started to do research, and me and my group and I divided ourselves into different categories to find information quicker, and so that we don't overlap in information. And we felt like we had enough information, so we dove right into the infograph, and when we did, we kind of ran into our own.
Don't click him on once. It's just slow.
It's taking up my time. We ran into our own three-headed dog named We Can't Draw, and we knew that the monster was bigger than the all of us, so we had to stay positive and persistent to get through it. And Harry also stayed persistent against his own three-headed dog and asked around the school to asked around the school and found out that soothing music would make the dog fall asleep. And for me, this is where all the fun began. Right after we discovered ourselves not being able to draw, I decided to jump in and throw out some ideas. And I knew that my group mates weren't too happy with my ideas, but we weren't getting anywhere, so we just decided to continue. And after we did, and we started on our real paper, it just wasn't working out, so we had to collect ourselves and re-brainstorm and make another one. And it wasn't so positive at times, but we just had to work together and communicate as much as we could. And when we got our stuff together, everything just started kind of to flow, and we kind of defeated our three-headed dog. And we finished on time, and I was very proud of the work that we accomplished, but it wasn't perfect. We had to rush most of our infograph at the end, and we lacked a lot of preparation. And there were many takeaways from this project. I learned that staying positive and just working through the rough patches is the best way to get through it, and I also learned that I need to improve on a lot of things as well. I need to be more open-minded and cooperative, especially when our group is struggling. And Harry discovered that the giant three-headed dog was guarding a stone that would grant the owner immortality. And when Harry discovered this, he decided to take another shot at it. And like Harry, I decided to take another shot at it after a stone that would give the owner accomplishment. Okay, and when Harry entered back into the room, the monster was asleep, and as he continued, he was faced with a series of challenges to safeguards to get to the stone. And for me, there was a deadly plant named the Native American Project, and the learner profile for my Native American project is communicate effectively using multiple mediums, spoken, written, artistic, and digital. And the Native American project was one of our first projects that we had to present in front of our parents. And when we started to work on our poster itself, we just had to remember throughout the poster that we had to communicate our essential question and our ideas through it. And that was kind of our biggest challenge that we ran into, and I kind of noticed that our group was struggling again, so I kind of saw the parallel, and I tried to encourage my group to speak more, to communicate so we can work through it. And and then we moved on to our individual writings, and because I did a lot of research beforehand, I felt like I knew what I wanted to write, and I felt like I was fine, so I didn't work too much during class, and I only got like one paragraph done, and I had to do it over the weekend, and when I got home I didn't really remember like what I wanted to write, so I had to like do it again, I guess. I had to like research again, and then at the end, when it was time for us to present, we were all prepared to go, and the presentation went pretty well, but I felt like we could have been able to prepare a little more, or a little better for some of the questions we were asked, but our quick thinking got us through that, and at the end, yeah, I was successful in communicating in multiple mediums. And after Harry got through that challenge of deadly plants, he enters the next room just to face another challenge. And my learner profile for the podcast project was collect and analyze data from disparate disciplines in order to apply new solutions. And the next challenge Harry faced was a room filled with flying keys. And like Harry, my challenge was to survive and get through a room filled with flying keys named the podcast. And this project was kind of new for me because I've never made a podcast before. And during the research, I learned something pretty valuable. I learned that choosing a topic that like you actually like can like be pretty helpful because it kind of the research just kind of comes together naturally. And while creating the script, I remembered what I thought to myself in the beginning of the project and realized that the podcast would just be like super boring if it's just us talking and like super boring stuff the entire time. So we had to like be creative and kind of like, and we also kind of connected some of our research to like stuff in Hawaii so that like it's more personal and like it's more interesting, I guess. And we also tried relating, okay, the post-production of the podcast was something that I was a little familiar with, and it's kind of easy, but then after we got the final recording, my partners did a great job putting their emotions in their words, but on the other hand, I sounded very like monotone, it was boring, and so I feel like I could have worked on that a lot more, and yeah. After surviving the room full of flying keys, Harry got into the next room, just running into another challenge, and just like Harry faced a life-size game of chess, the next challenge for me was a dangerous life-size game of chess known as the fishing lure. And my learner profile for the fishing lure was nurture, sustain, and steward the environment and community in which they live. And to survive the dangerous game, I had to create a fishing lure that catches the two main predatory fish in the fish pond. And we kind of first had to do research to see like what kind of fish they ate so that I could do my lure. And then while researching, I also kind of found out that using different types of like keywords and like different ways of like searching stuff would be like make researching easier, I guess. And this realization really improved me as a learner, and because I always had issues like doing research and you had to like go back and research again. And yeah, so and then I decided on a 3D printed lure, and this is where like I really had to use all my resources to find out what I exactly wanted. And I talked to like Mr. Kaneko and Mr. Jordan, and I decided that I was going to do my lure off of Wama. And after printing out my lure, I ran into another challenge where I printed the same side twice. But because of what I learned before, I wanted to use my time wisely. So while I was printing the same thing again, I used that time to start making another lure. And yeah. Okay, after finally getting past all the tasks, Harry discovers that it was the defense against the dark arts teacher who was trying to claim the stone, and he removes his turban to reveal a weak Voldemort living in the back of his head. And for the Zoo Banner project, our learner profile was to collaborate with and positively impact global peers. And with an enchantment placed by Dumbledore, Harry finds himself in a possession with the stone, and Voldemort tries to get it from him, but he refuses, and that's when the professor attacks, and Harry couldn't defeat him himself, so he had to tap into like his mother's powers to defeat him, and just like that, I had to get the help of Catherine to tackle this zoo banner project, and we decided to make a poster about the Hawaiian monk seals, and yeah, one of our biggest issues while we were doing that was to meet the ADA thing, because we had to use like certain fonts and like make that also work, and like different colors that we were told to use. And throughout the project, it was important for us to just stay in contact with Catherine the entire time, so that like we know what she wants, and like just we know what she wants. And she also gave us feedback, and as we made progress on our and I successfully created a banner by overcoming these obstacles, and I also feel like my time management throughout this project was improved compared to my previous projects, as we had a lot of time to polish our work. But on the other hand, I still had a lot of things that I could have improved on, such as putting more effort into the draft, because we kind of veered away from the draft a lot. And after defeating the professor, Harry blacks out and wakes up in the bed next to Professor Dumbledore, and he tells him that Harry defeated the professor and that they're on summer break, and just like that, I get winter break. The end.
Stay there.
Okay.
He's good at you.
What time was it?
11:44.
Any questions for Jack or comments?
Good job, Jack.
I think, yeah, despite the technical difficulties, it was good.
Yeah, you did well. You pulled through. Yeah. Couple of things, Jack. Work on less reading, more talking.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. You kind of know. Don't use Prezi.
Dude,
I
it worked for me.